In yesterday's live stream, Coffee Stain Studio community managers Jace and Snook, accompanied by Hannah, unveiled a plethora of world changes in Satisfactory, perhaps too much.
We were hoping to capture more B-roll for the video that we put out, but we're going to try and mitigate that by showing you pretty much everything. I mean, maybe not everything, but as much as we can today.
Ooh, leaking everything.
Essentially,
yeah. But we're going to do a rapid-fire summary of all the juicy details and even some before and after shots of Lumen in action, so stick around until the end. Hannah, also one of the 2 world designers for Satisfactory, helped present these changes for Update 8, which started off by showcasing 2 of the new world perimeters, including the Swamp's Edge and also the Dune Desert's Crater, which we had seen previously. Now, these are designed to make the world feel much more immersive and connected to the world around us, rather than as if we're on an island. But you can expect a lot more of these perimeters to be added in future updates as well. Jace also mentioned that we'll be receiving at least 2 more videos on Update 8. If there are any difficulties, they may be delayed further. With that out of the way, let's dive into the world changes themselves. So starting off with the Desert Canyon area, notice the revamped pillars and updated foliage. This helps create a transitory biome, blending both the surroundings all seamlessly together. The cliffs and the pathways are also getting some love, as you can see here, such as the detailed collections of the rocks under the cliffs. And also I really like how this all looks. The stunning plateau that you can see here and also the dry riverbed that runs beside it are going to be great for both building our factories, but also for the logistics as well. From here, the team talk about nanite being used for the cliffs, and the big changes that you can see from this, or the difference I should say, is the better detailing that you can see from further away. Now, this may also suggest that the low LOD cliffs that I've had in my world will also be getting fixed, though I'm not sure about that. It could be a slightly different problem that's causing that. Also, we can confirm, looking over at the Titan trees, that they're also being created using the nanite technology, but there's no mention of it being used in factories as of yet. Now, the Titan forest itself is getting a makeover, as we know from the teasers, with improved hitboxes for the towering trees, so we'll be able to build like tree houses up there should we wish. And the world is also going to be able to load better. It's going to be optimized so that we don't have to load in whole tiles at a time, which is actually really great news for us because it should reduce the amount of load on our CPU. However, I can't help in this spot particularly see that the Titan trees here look duplicated, like copy and pasted. I really do hope, like with the night sky pattern that they had in Update 6, that they're going to update this with a slight adjustment so they feel a little bit more natural to the surroundings. They then moved on to the rocky desert area, and this is definitely set to become a lot more vibrant with new foliage like the cacti and dead palm trunks being added, as well as smoother cliff transitions and like ledge transitions from rocks you can find around the desert. It makes them look a bit more eroded and more natural to the desert environment. And another thing to mention in this area, the nearby cave system, which has the quartz nodes inside it. It's a very big cave. This is getting an update, but they weren't willing to show us this because there's something secretive inside it, something very intriguing for us to find out about later on. Of course, if you do have a hunch as to what this secret is, do let us know in the comments below. They also removed some assets from the corally coastline up in the northwest. And they've also removed some other assets in the north of the Rocky Desert, which will be replaced with different assets later on. So don't be surprised if you do see some floating items for the time being. Also, the coastline, that hasn't been touched yet, but there is said to be some changes coming to that later. Along with some of the assets that they've removed in the Rocky Desert, you can find the same in the Rocky Desert estuary as well. Here on the west coast, they've actually removed some of the older assets that looked a bit like those fungi trees. I'll put on a shot from my save at the moment so you can see. But that's being all replaced with some more natural foliage in the area to make it feel a lot more transitory. There are still water changes to the mechanics on the way. They're just not going to be coming for update 8, though you can expect the red forest to get a more clay-rich watercolor, which better matches it to its distinctive palette. Speaking of the palette, the mixed green and red foliage has been removed to make room for a more pure red jungle feel. And along with these changes, we can also see some new pathways to and towards the rocky overhangs. You can also see the stalactites, which they have recently added as well. Oh, and I should also mention the cave that you did see, that was actually over by the Titan Forest, set just underneath it, facing the edge of the swamp. Above there, that has also been revamped into a more transitionary biome between the swamp and also the Titan Forest, so you'll see more trees around there as well. Going back to the red forest or red forest jungle, we have the bamboo maze. This is going to be revamped too, but not for update 8. Though if you have a look at the bamboo, you can see that's changed, that's been more refined. The bamboo fields, however, they're going to be suffering a little bit of a mismatch between the terrain changes for update 8 and the old foliage. So be warned, you may see some more floating items just for the time being until they fix that. And then we have the Dune Desert Forest. Now, to my surprise, this isn't in the Dune Desert. I was totally wrong about this. This is actually the Dune Sandy Forest area over by the Coin Tree Forest, and this has seen some significant changes, including a relocated nitrogen node. So this will affect your extractors if you're using this location, so be prepared to adjust your setup, otherwise you're going to find it floating in the middle of the dune, I guess. Snut also mentioned that they're working on some photo mode improvements. I don't think this is for update 8, but hopefully we'll be able to make it feel a lot more cinematic, whether that's our photos or recordings, by being able to play around with the depth of field, which you often see them doing in their trailers. And while they didn't commit to a release date for Update 8 due to the Unreal Engine 5 complications, they say rest assured it is coming soon. As soon as they're sure that they can release it, they will let us know. And then finally, we had a brief look at the differences between Lumen on and Lumen off.
I believe this is with it off, and this is with it on. Ooh, big difference, right?
Wow, let's go.
Surprisingly, looking at nature, it's much more difficult to notice than I thought it would be. The real changes come when you're down on the ground and looking at the shadows. They seem a lot more softer and it's much more noticeable. However, it really does truly come into its own in factories, and I presume caves as well. But here you're going to want to be using a lot more lighting if you do have Lumen turned on in your factories, because if not, it's going to be very difficult to see items, as you can see here. You'll also notice that signs will now emit light, which is fantastic, so any items that are nearby will be lit up to a certain degree, which I'm sure we're going to be putting to a lot of great use, given that we won't need to power them, unlike lights. But that's a wrap. Thanks for tuning in, and a special shout out does go to all of our amazing supporters over on Patreon, most notably our Solarclipse patrons, James Irwin, Firefless, and Trebor, as well as our Lunars, the Calamity, Ben, Star, Shoko, them, and Wolf, and that dude AW, as well as our Blood Moon of the day, which today is the City Rat. Until next time, as always, ciao for now.